The beginning of the World Trade Organization Forum in Nairobi provides a platform for the branded versus generic medicines debate, especially in the wake of the United States and the European Union's position for the preservation of a patent regime that gives pharmaceutical firms that research and develop drugs the exclusivity to sell them for up to 20 years. On the opposing end are poor countries, including Kenya, that are rallying behind India, a country whose own intellectual property laws allows the licensing of local farms to make cheap, life-saving generic drugs without the consent of companies that developed them. India has also utilized a WTO agreement on compulsory licensing that essentially allows companies to produce a patented product without the consent of the patent owner, a pact that is now being opposed by rich nations. Generic drugs are exact copies of branded medicines and are as effective, the advantage being that such drugs, including antiretrovirals, cost as little as less than a third of the price of the branded and patented drug. Could it mean that we could potentially suffer as one of the countries that rely heavily on such generics if the West gets its way? Pharmaceutical industry expert Willie Serone says that shouldn't be a concern as talks begin at the four-day forum.
Let's be brave now and say we shouldn't be any more over-focused on we are worried the supply will diminish, costs will go up. The international situation seems to secure this. Go to the next stage.
With some African countries, including Kenya, manufacturing some generic drugs, even though on a small scale, many stakeholders view the demand by the US and EU to phase out compulsory licensing as not only an attack on India, but on the overall gains made to ensure affordable drugs in developing countries.
Africa needs to push a little harder and say we need assistance to enable our systems to cope with our burdens. And how do we do that? Can you give us trade concessions in this type of products to enable us build capital to support this aspect of our healthcare?
It is the opinion of many that the conversation at the forum should be about ensuring that the gains made on medical treatment through generics should not be negated. Evelyn Omboy, The Big Question.